popular series of science fiction films starring Will Smith that released during the 1990s. But did you know these movies were based on actual accounts of the real-life Men in Black? And who exactly are these mysterious people wearing shades and suits? Well, just as they are portrayed in the movies, these men are supposedly government agents who work in secret to keep any data related to alien encounters and UFOs under wraps from the general public. They are based within the United States of America. There exist many tales of sightings of these mysterious agents and people who claim to have had direct contact with them in the past. However, no solid evidence can point to where these people come from or who exactly they are working for. It is said these men appear unannounced and warn people to destroy any evidence they may possess relating to the existence of aliens before going public with it or face serious consequences. So, if we are to believe these Men in Black really exist, it would mean our own governments are attempting to prevent us from learning the truth about the existence of other beings within our galaxy. But you may ask, where is the proof? While hard evidence is limited, let's take a look at a handful of accounts over the years where people have spoken of their experiences with this creepy organization. Sightings of these Men in Black date as far back as 1947 with fisherman Harold Dahl, which took place on Maury Island, Washington. Many people believe the Men in Black were born out of the conspiracies and paranoia associated with the Cold War, which took place during this time period. People around this time began reporting unidentifiable flying objects in the sky. And of course the US government were eager to follow up these reports, believing they could be spycraft sent over by their enemy at the time, Russia. Harold Dahl and his son were two such men who reported a UFO sighting from their fishing boat. In fact, not just one, but 6 flying saucers in the sky above them. Apparently these ships dropped molten waste into the lake, which killed Dahl's dog and left his son injured too. Harold told his friends and family around town about this traumatic event, and not long after, he was visited by a mysterious man dressed completely in black. This man told Dahl not to speak of the matter again and to deny everything. Later, he had a visit from various Air Force agents who wished to collect data on the matter, and eventually the FBI wrote a report on Dahl's encounter, which can be seen in the photocopy here. Harold Dahl soon denied everything and said it was all a hoax on his part. However, years later, he claimed that this statement had been made under duress, meaning he was pressured into saying it by his mysterious visitor, the Man in Black. There was a doctor by the name of Herbert Hopkins who worked as a UFO consultant in Maine. He had received an important phone call regarding information regarding a UFO in the area from an anonymous activist in the UFO community. But only moments after receiving this call, Dr. Hopkins was visited by a man dressed in black who warned him to destroy all information that was to be.
Imagine seeing a UFO and then you go home out of nowhere and it's them at the door. What would you do? Comment.
Be given to him by the activist when they arrived, as well as anything he currently had in his possession. Dr. Hopkins was skeptical of the Man in Black until he used a particularly spooky scare tactic. The Man in Black correctly guessed that Hopkins had 2 penny coins in his pocket and told him to remove one and hold it in the palm of his hand. He then went on to make the coin disappear without ever touching it. Hopkins said the coin simply faded from existence. The man in black then inquired if Dr. Hopkins knew of an alleged UFO abductee called Barney Hill. When Dr. Hopkins said that he believed Barney had died a few years earlier, the man in black replied, "Barney didn't have a heart, just like you no longer have a coin," implying he had been killed by the agency using the same dark magic. Hopkins was so scared by this encounter, he went on to burn all his alien research, and from that day forward had repeated trouble with his phone line, suspecting it may have been tapped. Next, we have the story of Jim Templeton, who was spending the day with his daughter in the countryside of Solway Firth. Solway Firth is a border between England and Scotland in the United Kingdom. Jim took a photo of his daughter in a field, and to his surprise and horror, when it was developed, he noticed a strange man in a spacesuit standing behind his daughter, looking up at the skyline. Jim Templeton had the photograph checked out by Kodak, the company responsible for making the 35mm film this photograph was taken on. They verified it was a real person in the frame and not a laboratory error. Soon after, Jim was visited by two government agents who referred to themselves simply as Number 9 and Number 10. These men in black demanded Templeton show them the area this photograph was taken at. But when Jim informed them he never saw the man in this photograph in real life, the agents grew hostile and stormed off. The photograph got a great deal of publicity worldwide, and later Mr. Templeton was contacted by the staff of a missile launch pad in Australia, who informed him that two figures resembling the man in this photograph were spotted on their security footage. Creepier still, the missile that launched from this site in Australia was produced less than 20 miles from where Templeton took this photograph. The men in black have even had run-ins with celebrities, the most documented case being with actor Dan Aykroyd of Ghostbusters fame. Aykroyd was filming a new series about the paranormal, specifically looking into UFO research. He stepped out from the studio and onto the street to take a phone call for a few moments one night while working. As he did so, he saw a black Ford parked across the street. A tall man dressed in black stepped out of the car and stared him down. Aykroyd turned away from the man for a few moments, and when he turned back, the man and his car were gone. They had vanished. Upon returning to the studio, Aykroyd was told his show had been cancelled and they were to stop production immediately. Finally, we have perhaps the most conclusive evidence of the real Men in Black on this list. It comes in the form of CCTV footage captured from within a hotel lobby. It was April 2012 at a hotel in Canada, and the manager was a little disturbed when his bellboy informed him that the previous day the hotel had been visited by two tall men dressed completely in black who demanded to speak to him. They had heard the manager had been speaking of a UFO sighting he claimed to have recently encountered. Upon discovering the manager was not around, these men had stirred up a
I ain't gonna lie, if that was me. Poke, poke, poke. No, I'm just bullshitting.
frenzy, talking about government and conspiracy theories. They apparently had no facial hair, no eyebrows, and were incredibly tall. But scariest of all, they apparently had identical faces. And as mentioned before, both can be seen in this surveillance footage, the only footage of these agents ever released on the internet. And that concludes our look at the Men in Black. But remember guys, this has been a look at just a handful of real-life accounts involving these mystery men. There are many more stories to look at online, and this video is just intended to give you a taste of the kind of information out there. So if you're interested, go ahead and have a look for yourselves. Just remember, these Men in Black, if real, are always watching. And that's it.